one. Boom. Oh.
Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in. A little bit late, little bit of a late start there. I apologize.
9 whole minutes.
Yeah, I know. Rousing rendition of Libservative. Intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. Bell the Bodysnatcher on the ones and twos. He, as always, is Corey Walsh.
And he's Dan Griffin.
We got an action-packed show for you tonight.
But first,
hold on. Let me just say this before you tell the people where they can find us.
Sorry, bud.
I just want to say that the Iowa Caucus on Monday was maybe the most exciting political event in the history of our country. It was thrilling. It was nail biting. It was closer than anybody thought.
A caucus raucous in the 2024 year.
Oh, it was brilliant. Brilliant.
In other words, Let's Start a Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today. Subscribe today, Dan.
Not tomorrow. Today. Other topics besides the Iowa caucus that we're going to cover this evening. Apparently, Israel's in more trouble, and it's going to be the South Africans.
Trouble this time.
It's going to be the South Africans that are. Is this like? I've heard a bunch about it, but I don't know the formal thing to call it. Are they basically taking? Is South Africa basically taking Israel to the UN to like sue them on charges of genocide?
Criminal Court or whatever. Yeah.
This should be fun. And from what I understand, they really have a legitimate chance to win this thing. I don't think they will, and we'll get into it. I don't think they will just because of where the power
Western
struggle,
hypocrisy.
Yeah, exactly, and Western hegemony, of course. Where the power dynamics stand within the UN. But I think if South Africa makes a decent case, I don't know. Maybe we could see. Maybe we'll see some not so meaningful changes, some sort of I guess kowtowing to the mob by the West and by Israel, but I guess we'll see as we move on. We've got some other topics here for you tonight. But Corey, what did you learn in school this week?
Ooh. Okay, so you want it?
I want it so hard.
This is for all the psychonauts and the space cadets out there.
Me. Okay, good.
Yeah, right.
Just for me.
Ukraine is currently using ibogaine to treat TBI and to help with battle readiness. And ibogaine, for people who don't know,
is psychedelic.
It's a naturally occurring psychoactive substance found in plants. It's basically like what they use for like ayahuasca, DMT. It's one of the hallucinogenic compounds that get people to see aliens and go on spaceships and on massive doses. Obviously, they're microdosing those soldiers, but when I'm talking about microdosing is like, we're talking like not just TBI, like when it comes to like the TBI stuff, yes, when they come back and they have like traumatic brain injuries, PTSD, they're giving them microdoses of ibogaine. But they're talking about also using it for the soldiers while they're in the battlefield, because ibogaine works really well with pattern recognition, reaction time, and things like that. And what's interesting is this guy, his name is Beal, something Beal. He's some guy who's like pushing this funding and research in Ukraine. But apparently
Bradley
the
Beal,
Russians,
the overrated basketball player,
yeah, that guy. No, he's with Ann
formerly
Kentar.
of Washington Wizards fame. I don't even know where the hell Bradley Beal plays these days. That's how much attention I pay to the NBA.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
But Beal noted, so this is like the quote right here that I thought was absolutely insane. He said that the Russians are using Captagon, which is basically like speed for their soldiers, you know, and like just like the Germans did, it heightens awareness, keeps the soldiers alert and awake. And the Russian use of Captagon and argued Ukrainians would be at an advantage. And quote, "We think what we'll do is we'll get our side to live longer," he said. "It'll be the Ukrainians on Ibogaine versus the Russians on meth." So
Why are we giving this shit to Biden?
Ibogaine?
Yeah. I mean,
On a lot of Ibogaine. That's what Hunter Biden says he used in Mexico to get off crack.
to get off crack. But of course, you know, his father is, I'm sure at some point within his political career, responsible for making Ibogaine a controlled substance in the United States. I don't have the year and I don't have it in front of me right now, but
It is Schedule 1. Just
it
like,
has not, but
marijuana.
it has not been forever a Schedule 1 drug. Ibogaine's pretty recent, isn't it?
Hey, Bell,
as
look
far
that
as-
up. Hey, Bell, look up when Ibogaine was made Schedule 1 drug.
Because I don't think it's been Schedule 1 for that long, but it's just another one of those things that makes people happy and question authority, because that's what all psychedelic drugs do to some degree, and the government just simply can't have that. Is that hold on, is that tinfoil hat? Because
No.
you hear a lot of people say that the reason that things like psilocybin and Ibogaine and others are Schedule 1 narcotics is because it fucking makes people too smart. You know, it makes them realize things like their mortality and come together.
So it is tinfoil hatty, right? But if you what's interesting about that, and what I like, this is actually not to combat your tinfoil hat conspiracy. It's actually to give it more like oomph, you know, a little bit more juice, a little bit more.
We need
a little
some
bit more,
oomph.
a little bit more Ibogaine, if you may.
We ain't found shit. We ain't found shit. We ain't found
on loop.
Why is it on a loop? There we go. I fixed it.
But if you remember, like we're talking about the electric Kool-Aid acid test, John Kesey, when LSD was first synthesized, it was in the government's hands. The formula, so to speak, you know, or like the chemical compound and how to synthesize it was leaked. And but before that, it was the government that had it first. So if anyone knows more about the psychedelics than anybody, it is, you know, the U.S. government. MK
And they
Ultra.
went, we can't let the people have this stuff.
Right. So the idea that like they didn't want people to take it because they might just go, "What is this?" too many times and really fuck up the consumerism and capitalism. That might be tinfoil hatty, but the government definitely knows the power of these drugs because they were.
Holy shit! Identitarian politics are bullshit.
Holy shit. Dude, this cookie cutter mold, they force us all into this 9-to-5 rat race where I'm buying things I don't need. Fucking sucks. And they're like, no, enough of that.
No. You make sure you
Like,
get.
what
on
do you
your
mean you'd
government
rather
mandated-
sit in an inner tube for 9 hours going down a river blitzed out of your brain than working your back and getting black
people
lung in a mine?
and doing it with people that have different skin colors than you? No. We can't have that. We can't have that. We need to. The race baiting will be gone
That's
if
interesting. You say
Ibogaine
the
is
thing
legal.
about- yeah. Interesting you say the thing about the different skin
Oh, well,
color
Bell
thing,
says
because-
1970 for Ibogaine becoming a Schedule 1 drug. I thought it was more recent than that.
Oh,
But here we
1970.
are.
That's when they started probably banning a lot of the drugs because the drug war started in what, 68?
Yeah, right after the civil rights bill passed.
Well, yeah, because the civil rights bills, it was when Nixon was president. The civil rights bills were or civil rights in general were a big thing. And like, you know, like giving black people just the same rights as everyone else and letting them drink out of the same drinking fountains. And the hippie movement were two of the biggest enemies. The hippies were the anti-war, and the black community who was like, hey, treat us like humans. Nixon was like, no, what the fuck? No way.
The banning of all the drugs. Somebody went in and said to Nixon, Mr. President, Jim Crow has now been lifted. There is no more Jim Crow. And he went, well, how the hell are we going to keep all these blacks filling up our prisons? I know, let's make drugs illegal.
Yep.
That's basically what it seems like. That's basically what it seems like.
Because it's interesting, actually, if you look back to like people were also had signs on their buildings, like, well, during all this segregation stuff was happening, that said no hippies. Hippies use back door. Like hippies were also treated like vagrants and second-class citizens and stuff. In certain aspects.
They were.
Like, have you ever? They were. Did you ever see Easy Rider?
I don't believe I have.
I think it's Jack Nicholson, it's in it, but it's about two hippies and they end up in the end of the movie. Spoiler. I don't give a shit if you haven't seen it. It's been out for 50 years. A bunch of rednecks just shoot them while they're on their motorcycles. And it's just a movie about two guys doing drugs and just riding their motorcycles across the country.
That sounds like a blast.
They were blasted,
Nixon
that's for sure.
This actually ties in pretty well to what I learned this week. In honor of Martin Luther King's birthday.
Okay, I was going to bring him up,
Monday.
and I forgot because I started talking about Easy Rider. So I'm glad you brought that up because I got something to say.
That's right. This is exactly
I got
what I learned
something
this
to
week.
say.
I learned that no group will pass up the opportunity to co-opt and claim Martin Luther King Jr.
I know what you're talking about.
I mean,
Lay it on me.
Where do we start? Shall we start with anybody in the government establishment? Shall
Let's
we start with
on Martin Luther Boulevard in Israel?
I'm going to get there, but shall we just start with like the fact that like every asshole government establishment person, like a Joe Biden or a Nancy Pelosi or a Mitch McConnell, it's not just a Democrat thing. All of the government's establishment has to take to Twitter and talk about what a great human being and how Martin Luther King did all of these great things for civil rights. Meanwhile, if Martin Luther King were alive today, and if Martin Luther King were alive today, he wouldn't be a big fan of yours either. So, nope, and by the way, he could still be alive today. He would be very old, I believe, in his late 90s at this point, but he could still be alive today, and he would not be a big fan of yours. I guarantee you he would not be a big fan of Joe Biden. Why? 1995 crime bill. And so you have that group co-opting Martin Luther King Jr. You have the DEI college crowd co-opting Martin Luther King Jr., even though MLK, I do believe, would be absolutely disgusted with some of the policies that come out of quote unquote diversity, equity, inclusion, which is actually the I might as well just be another E because it's really exclusion when we start having, dorms based on just one race. That I believe is segregation, if I'm not mistaken. Self-imposed segregation, but segregation nonetheless. Don't think MLK would be a big fan of that. And then, as you said, Corey, the Israeli government co-opting the words of the work of Martin Luther King Jr. And if there is somebody that would definitely not be on Israel's side right now, as we sit here today on January 17th, 2024, if whatever he would be, a 96-year-old Martin Luther King Jr. were still alive today, definitely would not be pro-Israel.
No,
just
because
saying.
Bell, real quick, look up the Martin Luther King quote on the 1967 Israeli war. I want because it just solidifies what you're saying, Dan.
While he looks that up, I can give you kind of a synopsis of what he said, because I vaguely remember this, hearing this comment, which was that after the 1967 war, Martin Luther King basically said that any land that was taken by the Israelis in that war would eventually have to be given back. Something to that degree. Something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing.
Peace for Israel means security. The world and all people of goodwill must respect the territorial integrity of Israel, King said on ABC's Issues and Answers show in 1967, according to a transcript at the King Center. But interesting because he also there's another quote where he talks about how he was criticizing Israel. I guess look up King criticizing Israel.
Yeah, it had to do with whatever territory was taken would eventually have to be given back. And I don't even know that I necessarily agree with that. Just because, and we were actually talking about this during our show prep meeting last night. Like one of the reasons we really haven't talked a ton Israel Gaza, and we have in certain episodes on the show, but one of the big reasons we haven't is that the discourse around this fucking thing is so bad. People that we respect, really great journalists, really great thinkers, have just dug a fucking hole. They have put a line in the sand that they will not cross. They will not acknowledge the fact that the other side of this argument, whether you're pro-Israel or you're pro-Palestine, the other side of this argument in this debate has legitimate points. And even when they will acknowledge that, they won't engage in the discussion with those people to any meaningful degree. And it sucks because it's people that we really respect. Who are we talking about? I'm talking about Bari Weiss. I'm talking about Max Blumenthal. I'm talking about these types of people that I love and respect.
The Jimmy Dores and stuff who are just completely just like,
well, that's
not taking the context in it either. And you're absolutely right. There's just so much noise around this that us adding to it isn't going to help the situation. And we're here just to comment, and we're just working on our own thoughts and stuff. We're just, a bunch of smooth brains. But it's such a contentious issue that it's just.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I've always said is that that contentious issues are a contentious issue for a reason. You talk about abortion, talk about Israel Gaza, and what makes it a contentious issue so contentious is that both sides have a legitimate argument. It wouldn't be so contentious if both sides didn't have a legitimate argument. If we just agreed that abortion is murder, we don't, and for good reason we don't. But if we did, there wouldn't be an argument. There wouldn't be a debate. It would just be, oh shit, abortion is murder. We shouldn't do it anymore.
Right. MLK said, I think for the ultimate peace and security of the situation, it will be necessary. It will probably be necessary for Israel to give up its conquered territory because to hold on to it will only exacerbate the tensions and deepen the bitterness of the Arabs.
That's basically what I said. He just articulated himself much better because he's a fucking brilliant man.
But going back to what you were saying, how like all these people are grifting off of his name when like the FBI, who was like sending him letters telling him to kill himself, is now like, Happy Martin Luther King Day.
Oh yeah, that was another one. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot about the FBI.
Yeah. Yep. And what's really interesting too with MLK, like when he got killed, like he was a thorn in the side of the establishment in the 60s or in the civil rights movement through his nonviolent protests and things like that. And but they like let it slide. But as soon as because he was trying to bring, again, it sounds, the reason I chuckle at this is because it just sounds so fucking absurd at the idea that like black people were just like, hey, let us, have the same rights as you. Like, let us enter the same doorway as you and use the same fucking drinking fountain and don't make us get up when you get on a bus. Like, it's absolutely insane that there was people going, no. But after his I Have a Dream speech, and like he made huge sways in our society and culture, rightfully so. He is definitely one of the biggest impactful people in the United States in our history. But when he went past that and started going to class and he started talking about the rights of workers, and then he started to unite white and black people, like he's like, all right, we got the race thing taken care of. Now it's about the class issue. I find it interesting that when he started uniting people under that umbrella, someone was so pissed off at what he was saying that he got assassinated.
So yeah, that's actually a common theory. Is I think that's the reason the FBI actually wanted to kill him, because when the establishment sees that you're being united under racial lines, black and white specifically, that's when the establishment gets scared. They don't want black people and white people on the same team. So when you have a guy like Martin Luther King Jr. who is uniting people based on class lines, which is what makes me upset when like you or I or Bell or anybody else will get into an argument with one of these goofy, DEI phony liberal people. And and they want to talk about how you're privileged because you're white or I'm privileged because I'm white. It's like, okay, like we can have that discussion. Like I understand your argument, but they never want to move past that line of the black and the white. And like that is utterly anti-MLK.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to unite people under class lines. MLK realized that if we could get poor whites involved in our movement, we are much more powerful in that way.
Right. And now I'm obviously not putting myself on the same pedestal as MLK, but this is the same argument I have when it comes to like police crime and police brutality, that when a black person is killed by the police, you have a bunch of white people who are quick to jump and say, oh, well, it's not race. Look at this. Twice as many white people are killed by police. And it's like, okay, but you're not upset about that. Black people are upset about black people being killed by police. And your argument is more white people are killed. How about you get just as upset about that as the black person is? And then guess what? We can hold police accountable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. That's why I've always been of the belief that MLK was murdered over his ability to unite people on racial lines, as they should be, and thus on class lines,
right,
to fight against the establishment. And that's what the establishment doesn't want to see.
Shout out to Jay, one of our most loyal listeners. He's in the house today watching live. Old Top in the house, old Sport.
I think that's it for, unless Bell, did you have something that you learned in school
Bell,
this week?
What did you learn this week? Let's put him on the spot. Bring him on in here.
I didn't learn shit. No, I'm just kidding.
We ain't found shit.
Found shit.
No, I learned, I don't know. I read about random stuff all the time. I was reading about pyramids this week because I was reading about the Battle of Pelusium. You guys know about the Battle of Pelusium?
No, but I did learn that there was a Roman soldier or Roman general or whatever named Poopy Anus.
That's so cute.
We ain't found shit.
Imagine what that man did in war to earn the nickname Poopy Anus.
It wasn't his nickname. That was his real name. It was like Poppienus.
He was running the other way.
And he was a tactician. He was like, I guess he was really good at his job.
I was about to say that was to strike fear in the hearts of his enemies.
Just walks in the middle of the battlefield. Just walks in the middle of the battlefield. Just takes his shit and scares everybody off. Like, that's this guy.
All of his
enemies.
Yeah,
dude, the shit they did back in the day was pretty wild when it came to, like, that's why books like The Art of War written way back then, right? Like, the different stuff they had to do when all the technology was the same to like have an edge. Like I think it was it the Athenians or the Greeks? I forget which one it was, but they had the arm. Like, if you look it up, look up the Army of Thebes. Thebes, Thiebs. Bell, look up the Army of Thebes, and what it was this. I think
it's actually Thebes.
It might be. I don't know how to spell it.
Army of Thebes.
But what it basically was this army of like 5,000, but they were all men, but they were gay men. And I shit you not, they were gay men and they were gay couples because they thought that the soldiers would fight more valiantly if their counterpart was their lover, and war weariness would be less because the lover was on the field and not back home with their family.
It was 150 couples of male lovers, and they ended the Spartan domination.
And a bunch of gay guys.
Who would have ever thought? Meanwhile, the United. Oh, is it? No, it's not.
Swear to God.
You're kidding.
No, it was.
Oh yeah, I guess 150 couples. Yeah, I guess 150 couples. You're right.
So, all those stories get
meanwhile
convoluted, just like how Socrates might not have been real. They say it was Plato. Like,
right.
You have that, right? And meanwhile, it like the U.S. military just ended "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" in like 2004.
Maybe we should do ask and please do tell.
Well, speaking of Army's doing crazy shit.
Well, that's just like adding women into the military might actually be a good thing for these boys.
Probably.
They're out there risking their life. At least let them get some tail, I guess.
So
some snatch.
Back to the Battle of Pelusium.
That sounded rapey. Go ahead.
That was Egypt's.
What, Dan? You don't
stand.
like some gash?
Some strange. No. Anyways. Oh, God.
In my opinion.
Anyways. The Battle of Pelusium was Egypt's last stand, basically. And it was when the Persians came and decimated the Egyptians, but the Persians were way outnumbered. So what they did was they tied animals to their shields because the Egyptians, thought animals were sacred. So they went in there outnumbered 3-1, and less than 100 Persians died because the Egyptians wouldn't swing on them because they had cats and shit tied to their shields.
Yeah.
See, no, now that's brilliant because that is an example of like ancient armies and like ancient myth making you really fucking dumb because it's just like, dude, oh, we're gonna take a chance losing this battle because we don't want to shoot the goats.
Dude, that shit hasn't ended though. Those type of weird little like wrinkles and like plays like is in battle scheming has gone all the way even into World War II. America had a whole inflatable army. So we literally had a whole ass inflatable army.
Yeah, we used them as decoys for D-Day.
Yeah, and just got guys under them just to shuffle them around. And the Germans, when they would fly over, they would just see 1,000 tanks. They're like, holy fuck. So they moved all of their army one spot, and then we came in a different spot with real tanks.
So,
oh God,
listen to the numbers on this real quick, though. At the end of this war, the Achaemenid army, which is the Persians and the Arabians and the Greeks, they lost 7,000 people, while the Kingdom of Egypt lost all 50,000 of their soldiers. Now that's a tactic there, buddy.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, going
it's
back
like the Americans who didn't line up like the British did. Like, hey, I'm gonna hide. Hey, you guys can stand there. I'm gonna hide behind this tree.
Or going back to the
good luck.
Going back to the Egyptians not wanting to shoot the goats or whatever. It's like imagine if you had like an army of vegans. That's basically what I think of when I
you know what I thought of
vegans.
So you know what I thought of when I heard what I learned about the Ibogaine thing? You know what that reminded me of? The fucking berserkers and the Celtic armies who actually held their own against the Roman Empire, because all of those fucking Vikings and all them would just chow down on a bunch of mushrooms, get naked, and run out their spears and fuck them up.
And literally fuck them in some cases.
That's where the term go berserk comes from. The berserkers.
Yep.
Because they're all high as shit on shrooms.
But by that time, the Roman Empire was spread awfully thin, and
do you know what's crazy?
Anyway, but
because two emperors always works great for an empire.
Could you imagine, like, at some point in the world, like, your job was to eat mushrooms and go berserk? Like, some people now are like accountants, and some people now are like landscapers.
I feel like a lot of landscapers probably still do.
Right, but back then, they're like, you grow up, you're gonna be a berserker. We're gonna give you these mushrooms. You're gonna
these mushrooms are gonna make you grow up.
You're gonna go berserk, little buddy, and then
you ready to see God?
Pregnant. You're gonna get a lot of people pregnant. Yeah.
I just want to play with my toys.
No
time.
They just start microdosing the kids when they're like right out of the womb. They're just like, dude. Instead of like a thimble of like whiskey for teething, they would just like rub some fucking
Ibogaine
mushrooms on their teeth,
some acid, LSD.
Well,
kid, look at the stars tonight.
I don't mean to be an actually guy, but LSD wasn't synthesized until like the 50s.
I don't know. Who
knows? Okay.
Fuck yourself.
Actually.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm not going to be bogged down by all the haters out there.
Let's let Elon tell us.
Don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
And George Santos. All right. Anyway, where do you want to start, Corey? You want to start with the Iowa Caucuses? The Iowa Caucuses?
The Caucus Raucus. That's what we should.
We absolutely fucking deserve this. I don't know if you have this. Do you have the video of the DeSantis participation trophy thing?
I don't. Let's see if Bell can find it.
Bell, if you can find it, because like this is so fucking funny, and it just proves what makes Ron DeSantis just such a god awful candidate. This man is so impotent and just has no charisma whatsoever. The man can't take a joke, right? And this man is supposed to compete with Trump in a Republican primary, a man for all of his faults. Trump can't take a joke either, but what he can do is fight back when somebody does make fun of him or when somebody does try this shit with him. And that, to me, like that was the start of me knowing, okay, we already knew Trump was going to win, but by how many when it came to the Iowa caucuses, but by how much? And that was the one that was like, dude, he's definitely getting 50%. Because I think like a win for like DeSantis and the DeSantis Haley Ramaswamy crowd was maybe holding Trump to more like the 40% mark. And like, that's when I knew. I was like, oh, so Nikki Haley is the most evil neocon in the field. And Ron DeSantis has run maybe the worst presidential campaign I've ever seen in my entire life, when he should have been focusing on, his COVID policy and some of the things that he actually did well for Florida. But what does he focus on? No, he focuses on the culture war shit. He focuses on
the government.
And expanding the government and, making sure drag queens don't walk the streets.
Yeah, it's not. I think the writing's on the wall.
I'm going to see if I can put this up while you talk, Corey. Like, Bell found the video.
Hey, yo, read the room. When, like, the more you talk, your poll numbers go down. The more that people learn about you, the less they like you. Like, yeah, it's...
Here we go. I actually, Bell just sent us the video. I've got it right here. We're gonna play this. This is a man. Well, the people will love it. If you haven't seen this already, hopefully you have. If you haven't, this is just fucking hilarious.
Oh shit! Why I didn't like that? You go ahead and pull yours. I'm sorry. I was just queuing something up.
Should I start it over?
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Real quick before we get started, thank you everyone. Governor DeSantis, I want to present to you this participation trophy. Now, probably not gonna win, but we're proud of you for trying. There you go.
Oh, I don't do participation trophy. Sorry.
The girl stands in front of him.
That's his wife.
Oh, is it?
I believe so. I believe that's his wife. I could be wrong about that. I don't really
free
care.
And flexible and creative was really essential.
Who's that broad?
I don't know.
But like that, like, can you know what I'm talking about? Because like you had Patrick Bet-David do the whole shoe thing, trying to give him a pair of shoes. Remember that? Yeah. And like he instead of just
how could I forget?
Having a little fun with it. Like he's got no sense of humor. He's got no charisma. He's got no moxie of any kind. He's just an impotent little weasel. I can't stand him. It's not like I can stand Trump either, but it's like, what do people talk about when they talk about what makes Trump's personality actually good for the presidency? Because there's a lot of reasons why it's bad, but it's like, it's this idea that he like projects strength, because he does do that. DeSantis doesn't do any of that.
Yeah. The narcissism
none whatsoever.
For Trump. Yeah. It's the narcissism. It just exudes egocentric personality. But yeah, no, DeSantis, yeah, everything about him. Like his smile, he has this permagrin, like he's trying to play off he just stubbed his toe. And like
he's like a toddler who like spilled his cornflakes anytime somebody makes fun of him. He's just sitting at the table with milk on his lap going, oh, I think I need. He's like, Mom, I need more cereal. Like that's what that's Ron DeSantis. He's just this. Oh, he's so awful. Anyway,
just the worst.
This is why we deserve this. And I guess the next point I will come to is Vivek dropping out of the race immediately after the Iowa caucus and shilling for Trump. And I'll start with this, Corey, and then I'd like to get your take on it. The people that said that Vivek was just vying for a Trump VP candidacy, I gotta say, I think they might have been right all along, because he dropped straight out of this race immediately. It wasn't just you, but I congratulate you, because I wasn't so sure. I really thought for a minute that Vivek thought he could win, and it's like we all knew that he couldn't. But the other theory was that he was going to stay in this race because he truly believed that the establishment was going to usurp democracy and remove Trump from the ballot, and then all the Trump voters would go to him.
You might be right.
It looks
he might
like
have
the former
hopped
is
in
true,
thinking that Trump might be arrested, and that he was able to hop in the vacuum and suck them all up. But that didn't happen. So
yeah, and he jumps out right away, and he shills for Trump.
Because come to find out, Dan, Justice is not only blind but also a bumbling idiot and moves slower than molasses in January.
I guess so. And the concern that I have, honestly, about Vivek's low numbers, I was actually like, everybody knew Trump was going to win the Iowa caucus, right?
Yeah.
But I was really hoping he was going to be more competitive with DeSantis and Haley for a couple of reasons. Not because I like him, not because he would ever get my vote at the ballot box, but because, he was kind of the only one that that was willing to call out the establishment and willing to call out the media and kind of basically in some ways be a more intelligent, well-articulated Donald Trump in some ways. And to see him come out and only get what, I don't remember what he finished with. Was 7%. It like 7% of the Iowa caucus vote is not, I shouldn't say disturbing, but disappointing to me, because Vivek was the candidate that was hyper online. He was the one doing the podcast circuits. He was the one, going on all these different new media platforms. And to come away with only 6% of the vote or 7% of the vote in Iowa, it's not that Iowa reflects, all of even the Republican base. Of course it doesn't, but it's disappointing, because what it shows me is that being the online candidate just still isn't there. And I don't know how much of that has to do with the fact that it's just still the old people that go to these primaries or these caucuses.
It may just be that simple in this instance. Like, it was the coldest day.
It was cold as fuck. Yeah.
But at the same time, the internet isn't real life. And what that, like, as someone who, based on what it comes down, not the primaries, fuck the primaries. There ain't shit on the Democratic side because Biden isn't allowing that to happen. And then the Republicans.
Well, it's the DNC, but yeah.
And then the Republicans are just a bunch of monkeys trying to fuck coconuts. So, like, I could give two shits about them.
And yell about their grievances.
Right? Yeah. They think it's a Festivus every single goddamn day. But when it comes to the general, it's going to be Biden, Trump, and RFK. And RFK does seem like he's getting a lot of steam. But is it the same illusion that Vivek was under? Is it just online steam? And will those people actually show up and show out?
And that was you took the words right out of my mouth, Corey, because that was my concern. As much as like I was much higher on RFK, certainly before his caucus. Take on Israel, and like he's certainly isn't perfect. He's not libertarian at all, but he does the same thing that Vivek does, where he's not shilling to the establishment. And I like any candidate being involved in this race that does that, even if you're not going to get my vote, which is why I liked Vivek in a lot of ways. There was almost no way he was ever going to get my vote, but I like just having that voice in there. And the reason Ramaswamy's poor showing in the Iowa caucus concerns me about the RFK campaign is the same reason, because it just seems like for some reason when it comes to national and presidential elections, even here as we sit in January of 2024, it just still seems like the Fox News, CNN, MSNBC watchers are the ones that are controlling these results, even though you've got these guys going on huge podcasts that get way better numbers than any CNN, Fox News, or MSNBC show. And where are the voters? Where is it resonating?
At the same time, maybe this, they brought it up on Reasoned Roundtable today. Would the turnout have been the same if we didn't do, because it's almost like fixing the system, as in like the reason why, like when it comes to primaries, right? And it's fixing the system, and the Democrats, if anybody, recognized it because they shifted states around of what they're going to. The primaries themselves rig the system. Would have Vivek had the same type of turnout of only 7% if they did the primaries on a national scale across the country?
A national primary?
And is that a deficiency that our country faces?
Yeah, it's honestly something I haven't thought a lot about, but like the arguments that I've heard for just having a national primary, I would have to weigh more of the downsides because I'm sure there are some. But it does make a lot of sense because our politics are so nationalized.
Right.
That
because now all of a sudden
it almost seems like every state should just go out and vote for the primaries on the same day. Like just make Super Tuesday.
Still, you can still
Super Tuesday. Yeah, go ahead.
Make it a Super Tuesday.
Super duper Tuesday.
Instead of Super Tuesday, it's Super duper Tuesday.
Dude, I mean, we're already living in idiocracy. So we might as well just call it Super duper Tuesday.
Right, because look at the demographics of a state like Iowa, and then look at Michigan. And then look at New Hampshire, look at South Carolina, all these different states. Every state has their own individual cosmos of a culture and a society, and their values and everything is different. And sorry, that was a burp. Are you drinking Labatt Light?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Canadian.
Bro, this is left over from my wedding in October.
Still?
So I'm
I didn't mean to get distracted. Yeah. But you're creating this like faux momentum, which, and in certain aspects, like Trump's going to be the winner of the RNC. There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying that, but for the outliers like a Vivek, he did shitty in Iowa. Who's to say he would have done the same in Texas?
I honestly even think like maybe not necessarily having a national, and to speak to that, maybe not even have a national primary, but have 2 days, 25 states one day, 25 states a couple months later, 2 Super Tuesdays, instead of just doing this dumb little setup where you have Iowa go first, and then you have New Hampshire go, and then you have South Carolina go, and then you have Nevada go, and then we have Super Tuesday, and it actually doesn't make sense. Right. With how nationalized our politics actually are. I'm sure there are downsides, and I would like to hear that. I'm sure it'll be some sort of establishment. Neocon, neo-lib.
You're taking like, because at the same time you're like, oh, you're diluting the voice of the states and this and that, and it's like, yeah, you might be right, but we're talking about a national thing, and like you're getting candidates who are getting not a fair shake in your state, your random ass state, which I know the prestige, Iowa is always first for some random reason. I forget why it was, but
Super Duper Tuesday sponsored by Walmart. Your caucus brought to you by Pizza Hut. I love it. Well, no, it would actually, Jay, you're wrong. It would probably be brought to you by Pfizer, but here we go.
Super Tuesday sponsored by Raytheon. Your caucus brought to you by Pfizer.
Super Duper Tuesday brought to you by Raytheon.
yeah. Super Duper Tuesday.
Your caucus brought to you by Lockheed Martin.
Super Duper. But yeah, like like the way the states are lined up now, people have like, you know what I mean? Like when it's the way it is, if someone wants, like you hear the political term, the big mo, right? The big mo.
Yeah.
These guys have to run their campaign based on what Iowans want to hear and then what New Hampshireans want to hear, not what America wants to hear. Because it's those two countries that basically, because like as evidenced by Vivek Ramaswamy,
states, you mean?
Look, or those two states, those two provinces. You look at how these two states are almost the make it or break it, and you see a ton of people drop out before 46 contiguous states, 2 others that are outliers that haven't even had a say yet and haven't even a chance to vote on whether or not these people have a say.
Well, Corey,
because
and it's
2 random states.
It's interesting because like that's the way the establishment, the neolibs and the neocons are always going to want it, because if you look at national polling and like where people identify at, like do you identify as a Republican, do you identify as a Democrat, do you identify as an independent, it's basically split into thirds. Mm-hmm. And it's really come down. It's like it used, I mean, not that long ago, it was basically like 40 and 20. But it's basically 33 at this point. I think it's like 27, and then the remainder is like unsure or whatever the fourth category would be. And so like that actually does speak to, if you had a national primary, how would these results actually pan out? Where would these independents actually go? Would they actually be willing to show up to vote in these primaries? Because now
all of a sudden
maybe the candidate they wanted to vote for dropped out after Iowa, or dropped out after New Hampshire, or dropped out after South Carolina. So it makes sense for the establishment,
or they might not think they're worth their vote because no one wants to vote for a loser. You know what I mean? Like, you have this candidate who's just losing in a bunch of states, and you're like, well, I might as well pick one of the other ones that might have a better shot. Why waste my vote on that?
Yeah, and to where if you had everybody vote in the primaries on the same day, that wouldn't be as much of an issue, because they'd all be still in the race.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I would even be fine if you just split it in half. You did a couple of Super Tuesdays. You did 25 and 25.
Back to back.
Not even back to back, but like you could do one in January, you could do one in March or April or whenever. When is Super Tuesday? I always forget. It's somewhere. It's April, right?
I think it's in March. Is it March
something
8th?
Like that?
Well, it's like the second Tuesday of March or something like that. Hey, Bell, look that up just so we don't. Bell's gone. Oh no, he's not.
No, he's not. He's sleeping.
No, we have 2 shared screens going on, so like I didn't see his little.
Go fuck yourself.
But yeah, look up when Super Tuesday is. I think it's like either the first or second Tuesday of March. In the meanwhile, since we were talking about,
do you have any final thoughts on the Iowa caucuses?
Yeah, only because we were bringing up Vivek earlier, and originally, like I was actually gonna like kind of second guess my own self, because I said originally that Vivek was I just read Jay's polling location stacked with Viagra and Mountain Dew.
Dig it. That's what we need. Code red, preferably.
Yeah, code red. No, I like the what's the purple one?
I don't know. I know the Taco Bell one, the Baja Blast. People tend to love. I can't stand that shit.
I would go out of my way and get McDonald's and not get the meal and get the large fry and the burger, and then go to Taco Bell just for a Baja Blast. Because Baja Blast is so goddamn good. And then they made Baja Blast in the can, and I drank a shit ton of them. And now I'm just like, I saturated myself with Baja Blast.
Is it like the soda? Is it like the soda version of Hop Slam? Is it like seasonal?
Yeah, Dan, have you ever been blasted with Baja? Because that's what it is. And I actually haven't even thought about Baja Blast in a while, and I might have to go get one soon.
Okay.
Anyways, I was gonna say
Super Tuesday is March 5th
this year.
Yeah, so it's always March.
Yeah, it's the first Tuesday of every March. It changes. So at one point it was March 8th. I'm right. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just being a dick. But anyways, what I kept trying to say,
Impotent Tuesday.
Impotent Tuesday. What I originally said was that Vivek was vying for the VP position. I saw this recently post up, and this is Vivek talking with Trump. And watch when I play this video for the listeners. You can't really see it, but Vivek is kind of stealing the spotlight here. He's a little, I think he might be a little bit too bombastic for Trump. And it makes you think the reason why he chose Pence was because he did shore up the evangelical vote. But Pence is about as charismatic as, like, I don't know, think of a good
I mean, he could even just be vying for a position in the Trump White House. It might not necessarily be the VP spot.
Right.
But yeah.
But like when I play this, like watch Trump in the background. Listen to what he says. This is him like the next day. It might even.
Oh yeah, when he was like when Trump does that thing where he goes out after he's like dominated and like, these people are the really fine people, the great people, they're losers, but they're great people, like that kind of video.
Yep.
So
okay, here we go.
The endorsement of a man who has become a true leader and earned the admiration of so many patriots. I've been a friend of his, even though we were competing against each other. But I was a friend of his, and we got along. And he was saying he's a great president. I kept saying, why is he running? He keeps calling me a great president. But he's a fantastic guy, a very smart guy. He's got some tremendous ideas. And he's young, and he's got some young ideas, too. And that's a good thing. So he has
young ideas.
A big, beautiful, bright future ahead. Vivek Ramaswamy.
Go
Vivek.
fuck yourself.
Like Trump has an energy, but Vivek has
They're making out.
Like
They're making out.
Different level.
Vivek is like
guys. It's good to see
smart Trump.
It's good to be back to New Hampshire. We miss you guys. We're going to make this happen, and you guys know this well. You know this man. You know why we're here. Patriots across the state.
Look how fast he changes his message.
In this country, that's what this is. It's not a war between black and white. It's not between Democrat and Republican, even in a deeper sense. It's between the permanent state and the everyday citizen. Between those of us who love the United States of America and a fringe minority who hates this country and what we stand for. And right now we need a commander-in-chief.
He's slick. Don't get me wrong.
Us to victory in this war. That's what
I didn't
we need
see
in
this
country.
Did Charlie Kirk post this? Is that what I see there?
Yeah,
you gotta know you're in a war to win one. You can't win one if you're sleeping.
You know he's in trouble too, right?
Stuck in the sand, like most
Let's
Republicans.
talk about that after.
And I think that's going to require somebody who isn't bought and paid for, a businessman, not a politician. Anybody heard of that? And that's why I was in this race. But I'll tell you, the people of Iowa spoke loud and clear last night. And I'm a big believer that we, the people, create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. That we, the people, choose who leads this country. And so we heard we, the people, last night. And that is why last evening I met my friend here. We met in person, and I told him that I would endorse Donald J. Trump for president of the United States and do everything in my power to lead us to victory in this war. It is a 1776 moment right now. That's where we live right now. And you want to know, what does it mean to be a Republican today? It means we believe in the ideals of 1776. Ideals like freedom and merit and the pursuit of excellence. That you get ahead in this country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. And
ooh, he even quoted MLK there, eh?
DEI. We are done with the nonsense. Send it back home. It means you believe in the rule of law. And I say this as the kid of legal immigrants to this country.
Go
that means your
fuck
first
yourself.
act of entering this country cannot break the law, and that is why we need to use our military to secure our own southern border in this country. That's what it means to stand.
You see
for
this,
the rule of
the
law in the
graphics
United
in this
States
one, though. The
of
little
America.
Trump photos keep showing up.
It means the people we elect to run the government needs to be the ones who actually run the government, not the shadow government in the deep state that runs the show today. This man is going to get in there this time around and actually shut down that deep state. Not messing around.
Not messing around.
That's how we win this war in this country.
Oh, he sounded like Trump there for a second.
We're actually going to do this in the long run and win
That's
this,
how we win this war.
around is with elections. We need to secure in this country for the long run. You want to know what needs to happen in this country?
He literally
Single
mirrors
day
Trump.
Voting on election day as a national holiday with paper ballots.
I actually agree with that.
Yeah, that
should be a national holiday.
I agree with too.
And English
Absolutely.
is the sole language that appears on a ballot. And I'm confident this man will be the one to get us there. And this is how we get our country back. Not black or white. It's deeper than that. These are the ideals of the American Revolution. And you know what? We do have some enemies that we need to defeat on the other side, but we have challenges to address in our own party right here at home.
That's
So
true.
you know what? If you want somebody who's going to foist onto you to use your social media account, you want to use a driver's license to do it, to have the right to use the internet, this man's not your man. There's another candidate in this race who'll do that for you. It's Nikki
Talking
Haley.
shit about Nikki Haley.
Well, she fucking sucks.
You want to cut Social Security? You want to cut Medicare? You want to cut veterans benefits so we can fork over more money to Ukraine so some kleptocrat can buy a bigger house? Vote for Nikki Haley, not this man right here. But if you want to actually put an agenda that puts Americans first, to say that the moral obligation of your leaders is to the citizens of this country, not another one, there's not a better choice left in this race than this man right here. And that is why I am asking you to do the right thing as New Hampshire and to vote for Donald J. Trump as your next president, because we're not working with a lot of time here. If our kids are in high school,
because he's 78 years old.
We have a country left. That's what it means. We've been celebrating our diversity and our differences for so long that we forgot all of the ways that we are the same as Americans,
67 Corvette.
bound by that common set of ideals that set this country into motion. We believe those ideals still exist. This man is going to be your next president to revive them. E pluribus unum. From many, one.
Did that motherfucker just quote the dollar bill?
We're doing it by speaking the truth at every step.
I bet you
of
Trump
the
didn't even
way.
know what it meant.
There are two genders in this country. Period. That is the truth.
All right, you can probably stop it here, Corey.
Yeah,
I think we got the gist of it. So this is what's interesting about Vivek Ramaswamy. Like there are like pockets of things that he says there that are absolutely true, right? When he talks about Nikki Haley being a neocon because she's an absolute piece of shit, he's absolutely right about that. But then
there's the
he's
word
got to
salad.
bring the culture. He's got to bring a word salad and like a culture,
Well,
and like the
Dan,
culture
he
war
wrote
nonsense into it.
woking.
I understand, but like you can't sit there and talk about how this isn't about black versus white, right? He said that multiple times in that speech.
And then bring up identity politics.
Yeah, and then continue to bring up there's only two genders in this country. It's like,
exactly.
You can tell what this is. This is an opportunity for Vivek Ramaswamy to boost his celebrity, and I'm disappointed in him for this, because I think Vivek throughout his campaign has said a lot of really good things. He's talked about a lot of really good things that matter, and he did it somewhat in that speech as well. But it's just like I've always felt, and I've defended Vivek a lot. I've done it on this show. We did a whole fucking episode just last week defending him on like the way that he handles the media. But I always knew there was this weird fucking sliminess to him where you could tell that, just like with Trump, it's not actually about fixing the country. It's about boosting his own celebrity and boosting his own ego. And that is the thing that makes him disappointing.
Yeah, because if you're really concerned about where the country is headed and you're really concerned about uniting everyone, you mean to tell me that like you're worried about those things and making sure everyone has food on the table, But then all of a sudden, when you're at that table and someone goes, well, gender is a spectrum, you're going to flip the table. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, what does that do? What does the idea that some people might think that there's a third gender
or 50 genders or whatever the number is,
whatever it is, as a he, him, they, she, thems, or whatever. Like, I get it. Like, it's a trivial thing to me as well. Okay, I'm not going to pretend that like I don't have he, him in my pronouns. I don't have any of this shit. Okay, but what I'm getting at is the idea that like, he's sitting here talking about how he wants to unite the whole fucking country, but then acting like two genders is something that's bringing the country down, and it's not. That has nothing to do with the idea that more workers are working for less pay. It has nothing to do with the idea that the American dream is out of reach of more and more people in this country. It has nothing to do with the idea that suicide is at the highest rates it's ever been, and all of these different things that are happening in our country that we have to worry about. And then it's just these stupid jabs they do in politics. It's fucking annoying, and he's doing the same shit. But anyways, so the reason why I played that was because of how bombastic he was. That like I feel like Trump in his narcissistic attitude might think Vivek might outshine him in the second presidency.
Yeah, that's
fair. Vivek is being too Vivek, that he might get a cabinet position, but I don't know if he'll be VP.
He will not get a cabinet position. He's more likely to get VP. You know why he won't get a cabinet position? Because cabinet positions have to go through Congress. There's no way. No way.
You're right. You're right.
No way.
Yep, you're right.
He might get a job in the White House somewhere, but not as he's not going to get a cabinet spot. He might try. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he tried. Like, it's just so frustrating. It's like there are actually things I really like about Vivek. There are things I really can't stand about Vivek.
Yeah,
and that's why I would not have voted for him.
No, you're right. And it's interesting like how polarizing he is. Like on the macro scale, he's polarizing where people either vote for him or not. But even on the micro scale, if you look at him in his little cosmos of who he is, you either love the things he says or you absolutely hate the things he says.
Just
like his whole what was it, the 14th Amendment? His whole 14th Amendment bullshit.
Yeah, because
trying to equivalate slavery issues and Civil War issues to the southern border. Like, get out of here.
Yeah,
I don't have a scholar in the Constitution, but I can read it enough to understand that that's not what that was about.
Real quick before we hit our final topic of the evening, just as kind of a side note, because this just popped into my head. What do you think about this? I don't know how serious this is, but I've heard some rumblings of a possible RFK Tulsi Gabbard ticket.
That is a ticket I would crawl over coals for to vote for.
You would, really?
Yeah.
Because we've talked about Tulsi a lot on this show. She's disappointed us a lot in the last couple of years because she's basically
in her platitudes. In platitudes.
A Tucker Carlson stooge in certain ways. I think that would be an interesting ticket. I'd be interesting to hear their message. I honestly, I don't know that I would vote for that ticket, but what I will say is I would
compared to a Vivek Trump or a Biden Kamala Harris ticket.
Dude, I'm getting to that. I'm getting to the Catherine Mengue Ward stage of just like I'm just not
even going to vote anymore.
Oh no, I'll vote, but I will leave the presidential ticket blank. Like I'll vote. I'll vote for my
name, like I did for AG
stuff.
for Michigan last
year.
Because who was it? It was Dana Nessel and who was that fucking?
There's a little goofy libertarian on there.
Prick. No, the other AG running. The Republican AG. I forget his name, but he was just this slimy, just piece of shit. He was like a Trump stooge. Like he was trash.
They're all trash.
And like so, for all the listeners, we're talking about our little microcosm here in Michigan. I wrote in my own name for AG.
You got one vote.
I got one vote.
Well, and that's why
it's more than you. It's more than you, Dan.
That's true. That's fine. No, I would never run. Nobody would ever vote for me.
I vote for you. Oh,
that's why we have the little banner down here. Iowa Caucus. We deserve this. We absolutely do because we don't demand better. At the
end
of the
ready?
Day.
So, are you ready for a Trump presidency in 2024, Dan?
I'm absolutely prepared for it. I said last week. I said last week,
right?
I said last week, in some ways, I would never vote for Trump, but in some ways, I'm kind of rooting for it. Like, I'm so tired of, like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it.
I won't. I almost, it's what is it? Hunter S. Thompson. He says something about every experience you miss is just something that you regret. And at this point, I'm curious to see my reaction to a Trump presidency when I'm older and I'm not as wet behind the ears versus how Corey reacted to a Trump presidency in 2016, where I was literally the re guy. Like, I was on Facebook every day going, "This fucking jackass."
So did I. Like we already know. We already know the difference in how we are compared to 2016, 2017, 2018. Started to come around a little bit in 2019, and then after COVID started to come around even more. Even though let's not make any mistake, Trump was terrible on COVID. I don't care how big of a Trump supporter you are. Trump was terrible on COVID. He listened to Fauci. He's just as bad.
64% of the inflation of the $10 trillion pumped into the economy under Biden and Trump during the COVID administration or during the COVID pandemic was from Trump.
No. I actually like I actually liked your slip up a little better. The COVID administration. I actually like that. That actually fits.
Yeah, Fauci was president. The CDC was in charge.
Oh man, Corey, Israel's in trouble.
Boy, they sure are in trouble this time.
Oh boy, oh boy. You know a little bit more about this than me. I kind of know the basics, so I'll let you take the lead on this one. The only way I'll set it up is this way. South Africa is taking Israel to international court on grounds of accusing them of genocide. Did I have that about right?
Yep. So the current ICJ case against Israel is a legal action brought by South Africa, alleging that Israel is violating the Genocide Convention by committing and failing to prevent genocidal acts against Palestinians in Gaza. The case was filed on December 29th, 2023, and the first phase of the trial began on January 11th, 2024. South Africa has asked the court to order provisional measures to protect the Palestinian people in Gaza from further harm, ensure Israel's compliance with the Genocide Convention, and safeguard South Africa's ability to have the case fairly adjudicated. Israel has denied the allegations and argued that it is the victim, not the perpetrator of genocide. The case is not a criminal proceeding against individuals, but a legal determination of state responsibility for genocide. The case may take several years to reach a final ruling.
So let me just.
This is one of the most watched international criminal cases.
Oh, you're not done yet.
As it could have significant implications for the future of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the role of the ICJ in enforcing international law. The case is based on the events that followed the October 7th, 2023 attack by Hamas militants on Israel, which triggered a massive Israeli military operations in Gaza that has killed more than 23,000 Palestinians, injured more than 55,000 Palestinians, and has displaced nearly 2 million. The case also references Israel's decades-long history of relations with Palestinians, including its policies of apartheid, expulsion, ethnic cleansing, annexation, occupation, discrimination, and denial of the right of self-determination. South Africa has cited recent comments by top Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who expressed genocidal intent. I'm sorry, there's a lot, but I wanted to get that all out because that's all the factual shit before we throw in our personal opinion and analysis.
So basically, what you're saying, Corey, is that the country of South Africa is a country.
Knows a little bit about apartheid.
But yes, but that's not where I was going with this. Okay. They are just a bunch of dirty anti-Semites that we don't have to listen to. That's basically everything you read. That's all I heard.
Because anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
Of course, I'm kidding. Because this is what. Wait, hold on. This is what makes me so fucking frustrated about the Israel-Gaza discussion, because so many of the people on the Israel side, and this is just, I should preface this by saying this is just one of the things that makes me so frustrated about this discussion, is that everybody that wants to just say that, Israel is completely in the right, what you find is that so many of these people are the same people that culturally in America are on the side of anti-DEI and why is it that everything that I say is considered racist because I'm this because I'm on a different side than you. And
Black
then they want to
people
sit there
get to say the N-word. Why can't I?
but then they want, it's not even that, but then
I'm
these
just
same people
teasing.
want to, these same people want to sit there and go, if you criticize Israel in any way, you're an anti-Semite. Yeah, I'm talking about people like Bari Weiss. I'm sorry. I love her to death. I think she's great. I mention it all the time on this show. I would love to speak with her on this issue. But she is the kind of person that will do a podcast talking about why DEI is bullshit, and then rightfully complain when people sit there and call her a racist, because she's right. Obviously, she's not a racist, and those people are being ridiculous. But she's also the kind of person that puts out the type of content that says that if you say that Israel in any way is wrong, you're an anti-Semite, or at least she implies it. I shouldn't say that she says it, because I actually haven't heard her say it. But it's you understand what I'm saying, Corey? It's that implication about the way she speaks about it. And I'm only using her as an example because I respect her so much.
You don't hear like they don't outright say it, but you hear the word "but" a lot. But
yeah. What about
but,
January? Or I almost said January 6th. Jesus Christ, who the fuck am I, Chuck Schumer?
Well, what about October 7th?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant to say.
You're only 10 months and a day off, Dan. Don't worry.
No, dude, it's so funny because we get on this show and like I bitch about Bari a lot, and it's only because I love her. Seriously, it's only because I respect her so much.
You remember my cognitive dissonance with Tulsi. So, if anybody,
but the thing is, Corey, she still
have compassion.
She still puts out so much great content on other issues.
I know,
but the content she puts out on Israel is obviously so fucking one-sided, and it frustrates me because she's better than that.
It just there's a clear bias.
Yeah,
everyone has them,
and to a degree, I get it.
Right?
I get it.
Like everybody has a bias. There is going to be a topic that comes up while we have our little podcast careers. There are going to be topics that come up that we show clear bias, and we're gonna do our damnedest to not make it.
And that's
right
why
now,
I don't.
Bari Weiss is it's Israel.
Yeah, and I even understand her bias, but I look at her and I go, man, there's one person that I thought would be above that.
So it's interesting you say that, because going back to my old girl Tulsi Gabbard, I always held Bari at like a lower standard. Because first off, she worked for New York Times, but she was on the Joe Rogan podcast, talking about how Tulsi Gabbard was like a Russian asset and a Russian stooge, and this kind of stuff. And so,
but it was when she worked for the New York Times, still, right?
Sure, but my introduction to Bari Weiss had the bar set super low. So the bar was here. Then she left New York Times. Came out, was on Bill Maher talking about COVID, has honestly started that university, is a big part about what's it called? It's not FIRE. She's a part of Free Think. Is it called Free Think?
She owns the Free Press.
Yeah, the Free. Not Detroit Free Press, but Free Press. Right.
The Free Press.
So like she went from here, for me, she went from here to like here, and then with the bias of Israel, it went nah.
So it could be a situation.
So like
it could be
for me,
it could be another for her. But for her, it could be another Tulsi Gabbard type situation where she maybe eventually comes around. I hope that's the case. I really do.
That's why when she, obviously she's Jewish,
Yeah, I understand her bias. I get it.
It's like, and I'm Irish, but I'm not super Irish. But something deep inside me sides with the IRA side of Ireland versus the Crown. You know what I mean? I
get that.
It's something that's like inside of you, to where it's like you're showing bias. Maybe just not talk about it.
No, and like I get a lot of the points that these people make where it's like you don't have to just like, I don't have any issue with the existence of Israel, and that's what you're always accused of. Right, when you try to say that the Israeli government treats Palestinians like, I'm just going to put it really crudely. They just treat them like shit.
That's the other thing, when people always go back and forth about border lines being drawn and stuff like that. Like literally every country conquered somewhere.
Yeah, because That's the argument for the existence of Israel, because every fucking country and border that we have today was created because of displacement and war. So like, I don't think like Israel is like uniquely evil in that way, or even evil at all.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
It's just now in 2023, 2024, they're acting like a bunch of assholes.
And they have been.
And they have been for a little while. Yeah, they've been doing it for a little bit.
There's just so much.
It's the poetic
absolutism
justice
around
of
this.
South Africa calling on another country of apartheid, because if any country can call someone out on apartheid, it's South Africa.
Yeah, it's one of those topics where there just is no winning. There's absolutely,
that's why it's a contentious issue.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to say that again. I already said it once during the episode. But yeah, I will be really interested
fine.
to
That's
see.
That's why it's a controversial topic.
I really want to see what South Africa's case is here. I'm really interested to see what it is, what it shows, how Israel responds to it.
Because there are online breadcrumb trails, and of people saying things. I forget who it was exactly, so I'm not even going to pretend to quote them. But things when it comes to like, well, Gaza's being indiscriminately bombed, and then someone from Israel goes, well, it's not a war of precision, it's a war of destruction.
Right.
And it's like, oof. You are in an official position. Like, you probably shouldn't say that, because so what really frustrates me. So I guess the reason why this topic is even important to me is because I think whatever way it goes, we are going to see serious Western hypocrisy, or we're going to see the West actually be the bigger person in the whole grand scheme of things, and actually hold themselves accountable.
We're going to see an attempt to redefine what the term genocide means.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a distinct possibility. I think we're already having that argument.
Because again, what's happening in Israel, and so what's happening in Israel right now versus the Ukraine war, we were so quick to sanction Russia, and we were so quick to call him a warmonger and a dictator. Putin himself, and all of this shit about Russia, and like it got so petty that we weren't letting Russians play chess. way less of a sport that's even watched than tennis, which is, it's almost like you could probably if you could name like one thing less that has less attention of the grand scheme of the world than tennis, it's probably like chess and like backgammon.
Chess is actually a pretty popular global sport.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked how many people watch tennis. I think more people should watch chess. It's an interesting, fascinating fucking game.
When I play chess, like those games that take 2 minutes, it takes me 45 minutes. I like chess, but like I don't like the timer thing, because I literally need to look
dude, like you come over, I'll teach you how to play chess. You don't have to use a timer.
No. I'm confident in my chess game. The problem is when it comes to chess, like I literally have to make a move, and then you make a move, and then every single time it's my turn, I'm looking at every single one of your pieces and every possible thing they can do before I make my move. And then I need to think about what all of my other moves. So like I'm doing the same thing that professional chess players do, but what they're doing in 15 seconds, I'm doing in like 2 minutes.
That's just because they're pros and they see the board better than you do. That's just the way it is.
No, that's fair. Like I like the game of chess. I enjoy chess. I forget why I even went on this little tangent of being pissed off about
Russian chess players weren't allowed to play chess during.
I knew that part. I could get back to that. I just forgot the part when I was talking my grievance with chess. But we got so petty with Russia that we're like, you guys can't even play chess anymore. But then the shit's going on in Israel. And we're just like, well, it's complicated. And it's like, is it?
I don't want to be.
Or
I don't
does
want to be
this
that
go
guy.
back to the original inception of Israel itself, that Israel wanted a country because when you have sovereign land, people give a shit about what happens to you when outside factors come in, but when shit happens on the inside, no one gives a shit. China's
It's because
doing
the
concentration
Jewish
camps
people,
with Uyghurs, and no one gives a shit. When Iraq invaded Kuwait, everyone gave a shit. But then when he receded back to Iraq and this started killing the fucking Kurds, no one gave a shit for 20 years.
it's Corey. I think it's actually even simpler than that. I think it's so simple to the point where it's like the Jewish people are a protected class for good reason, right? When you think back to World War II, right?
Or even before that, even before World War II, World War I.
But like certainly became more of a protected
1700s.
class after that, to the point where the UN, basically said, here, you can have this land. We don't have any way to legally give it to you, but here it is anyway. And, good luck to you. And, the Jewish people,
Great Britain,
the Jewish people went and did their thing. And I mean, you could certainly argue, and I would mostly agree, like, kind of earned that land. Like we said, how do you get land? You fucking fight for it, and you go take it, and you go get, and you get it. And so, but the problem is, what do you do when the protected class or the protected people are the people that are perpetuating the war crimes? It makes it more difficult.
So where is that fine line, right? I guess that's, I think I understand what you're saying. Where is that line to where the oppressors where the oppressed become the oppressor?
It's like, so like,
are we seeing that? Is that what we're seeing in real time right now? Is the oppressed becoming the oppressor?
I think in some ways that's true. I guess the way I would liken it is like, let's say we took the state of California, because it's the first state I would choose if we were ever going to actually do this, and we just gave it to Native Americans. We said, this is your land. Do whatever you want with it. You can have whatever's there. Take it. And then created a new country that's all Native Americans that only live in California. But, there's also this little sliver here along L.A. where the white man still lives. Right. And then it's not enough. It's one day the Native Americans decide they want that land, and they go in and they start gassing them. They start bombing them. They start blowing them up. Right. Where are you going to sit on a scenario like that?
Right.
Because it's obviously,
Native, it's a good example. Like in a what if scenario.
Yeah.
In a random
it's
country.
Silly, but it's silly, but it's a little bit of a thought experiment. Like, which side would you stand on? Because it's obviously, the natives that got that land back are blowing innocent people up. But then you're going to come back with the argument of, well, yeah, but the Gazans are run by Hamas, and the Hamas people are terrorists, and they go
and then we're going back to the roundabout thing. It's like, okay, but yeah, Hamas is doing that, but also Hamas hasn't allowed an election in the Gaza since 2005, and the Palestinians' population is like 70% under 25, and none of them have even been able to vote in any sort of political election to get Hamas out. And then you have Benjamin Netanyahu, who says Hamas is their friend because they need to keep the West Bank and Gaza separated. So there's no sort of solidarity. And it's like, you know what I mean? So it's always this like round and round and round type thing where it's just like,
everybody making legitimate points. I know. That's why I'm going to be really interested to see what happens with this South Africa case. I don't know.
I'm hoping that the West doesn't try to fabricate themselves on the higher morale.
They will.
The West itself needs to let itself be knocked down a peg. We have to. We have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have no problem.
Israel is fucking up really bad right now. 10 kids are losing limbs a day.
I know, but the United States has absolutely no problems with genocide. We're homies with the Saudis. And then 100%. now we have the Houthis back on a terrorist list, And like, I understand the point of like, yes, you know, the Houthis are blowing up ships in the Mediterranean, and like they're not exactly good people. Just like Hamas isn't good people, but there are just so many moving parts.
Just like a mass shooter, there's something that pushes them to that point. And we need to look in the mirror and understand why they're doing this in the first place.
That's a great way to put it. I gotta piss like a racehorse, Corey. I don't know if you have anything. I don't know if you have anything left. We can probably just go ahead and end this show.
I got one thing.
Tell the people where they can find us. Oh, go for it.
Libsertive Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libsertiveshow.com. We can be found at Libsertive on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibsertivePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libsertive Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libsertivepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today. Subscribe now. Subscribe right this second to our show, or you are dead to us.
That was a great poem.
You like that? It was like a haiku, I think.
Bell, didn't even rhyme.
Real quick. Bell, no, haikus don't need to rhyme. Bell, count the syllables on my last 4 lines. Was it 575?
Do we not know what a haiku is?
575? No,
I don't know. Say it again.
I don't remember what that.
Don't say it again. Don't say it again.
But Dan said it didn't rhyme, and I said, "Well, it's a haiku. Haikus don't need to rhyme. It's based on the syllables. It goes. I think haikus go 575. Bell, right now, look up the structure of a haiku. Am I right?
And I'm just
575.
You are right. No, I can tell you 100%. You are right.
I'm just gonna sit here.
Why? He's right.
Is it 575?
Yes, I didn't have to look it up to tell
yourself.
Don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
Andy, our photographer, graphic designer, media guy, just said, "Hey, it's my favorite conservatives," and I told him to shut the fuck up. So
you forgot one title of his.
Wow.
What's that?
Our bitch.
He literally works. He's working on. Go
fuck yourself.
What happens when a pro tem, or what's it called whenever a lawyer works for you?
Pro bono.
Diem. Yeah, pro bono. He's working at pro bono. Talking about
pro boner.
Biting the hand that feeds us.
Pro boner.
He's a pro boner. We love him.
He goes, "Careful what you say, boys. I have your images." and he might have some that are compromising. Mostly of Dan.
Yeah, that's true.
Dan kept wanting to show Nip, and we're just like, dude, just stop.
Shit.
Nip and a powdered wig. So that's the better part. Anyway,
a little powdered wig Nip.
We got Bell the Bodysnatcher on the ones and twos. He, as always, has been Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
This has been Libservative. And until next time, we are